10, 9, ignition sequence start. All engines are running.
Roger, the clock is operating. We're underway.
It's one small step for man, one giant leap for mankind.
And as we dangle high above the ground, we swing right into Kerbalcast, episode 24, going off crazier than usual.
Madness, as you know, is like gravity.
All it needs is a little push. I am your LMP, that's Lunar Module Pilot Biff Aldrin, and our CMP, Command Module Pilot
Nostromo.
Coming up in today's program, we'll update you on our progress in the game.
DK brings us Modder's Mimit, where we learn about roster prop monitor.
The Modder's Mimit?
The Mimit.
The Mimit?
Yeah, it's like the knockoff Muppet Show.
Wasn't he like a famous playwright, David Mimit?
Oh, I was thinking like the Mimit Show. The knockoff Muppet Show. And Shay brings us another challenge.
Yeah, it's actually, and the Shay challenge this week is not a new challenge. It's an expansion of the old one.
It's like whenever we did that contest. And I'm like, all right, here's your question. And like, nobody got it. Okay, here's some hints to the question.
You remember that? It was like a week later. Okay, we made it too hard.
Okay, yeah.
Here's another clue.
Decipher these hieroglyphics. If you can decipher the Dead Sea Scrolls...
Well, I should toss out a word of warning to everybody. I may, given recent events, I may have to go into hiding soon. And so if this podcast stops abruptly for a while, that's why.
Oh, is it because you asked, because you did the $1 million questions for Squad?
No.
And they're just going to put a hit out on you and just collect your ideas?
No. There is a singer who I cannot stand. Okay. I mean, we're talking, this is like passionate dislike. Won't even say her name. I'll just do initials. Okay. TS. Okay.
Okay, sure.
New album is out. A couple of weeks ago, the first single off that new album came out.
Yeah.
I can't get away from this song. I was in Target the other day, and the song was playing. Ever since the song came out, and I was exposed to it, and that's the only word I'm going to come up with. Exposed, like a virus, like a disease. This song has been stuck in my head. It has been playing on a 24-hour loop.
Oh, in your head.
And now the whole album is out. And if this keeps up, I mean, it's to the point where I can't go out in
You're
public.
Gonna get in a bunker?
Yes.
See, it's so weird. I realized I live in this crazy bubble or something because, like, the only way that I found out about, like, Justin Bieber was all the people that were talking about how much they can't stand him.
Right.
The only way that I knew who Taylor Swift was
you said it! You said the name!
Was all the people who talk about how they can't stand it. Otherwise, I would have never heard these people. And it turns out I'd heard one or two of their songs, but I was like, oh, that's just pop stuff. I don't listen to that. And so I never heard any of it. Like, I never actually knew what any of it was. If it weren't for the people that hated him so much, I don't think they'd be around.
So you're saying I'm helping. Thanks a lot. Thank you.
If you speak its name, you make it exist. So.
And if you say it 3 times, it appears.
Yeah.
Like Beetlejuice. Ah, boy.
You look in the mirror, turn around a few times.
Honestly, I mean, I will say, from what I understand, she sounds like a nice person. She does a lot of charity work, and she donates, and she does all this stuff. But the music is, I mean, to me, it is the equivalent of a power drill in my forehead. Okay? I mean, when all I have to do is hear one song one time, and it gets stuck. and what I can't understand is how popular this stuff is.
I think that's why. Like, it's like whenever it's like whenever that picture's crooked on the far end of the room, you're like, I just got to fix it. You can't just sit there. You have to go over and you have to like fix it.
Have I ever told you my theory of what a truly horrible song is?
No.
Okay, bad songs are everywhere.
Yeah.
Okay, Justin Bieber could knock out 3 or 4 bad songs before he even had breakfast.
Yeah.
Okay, for a song to be truly horrible, there has to be a moment where you think to yourself, this song could not possibly get any worse. And it does. And there's very few songs. Gwen Stefani, Hollaback Girl, the moment when she starts spelling out the word bananas is when it veers into truly horrible.
That solved a lot of, errors on my part.
Yeah.
I will always remember.
That got you
how
through
to
some
spell-
spelling
yeah,
tests?
Yeah, it's
How nice.
it's like curved yellow fruit.
Well,
Oh, okay. Now I know how to spell that.
She Who Must Not Be Named, her latest song, that moment occurs when she starts rapping. The moment at which I think to myself, this song could not possibly get any worse. She starts rapping about her ex-man or my ex-man
this
or
is where I'm
something.
just real horrible about this. So she normally sang country, right?
Yeah, but she's, you're supposed to dance with the one that brung you. Well, she kicked the one that brung you out the door and said, I'm going with this pop dude over here.
Oh.
So-
Yeah, I'm awful at these things. They're like, oh, have you heard the latest this
Anyway,
thing?
so if I go underground and you don't hear from me for a while, it's because I'm hiding from She Who Must Not Be Named.
I believe you.
Okay. Do you want to actually talk about some Kerbal?
Oh, is that what
You know what?
Yeah.
We're probably.
Oh.
You know what? Now we're gonna get letters now. People going, okay.
We're sorry. Hey, we want to apologize.
You're not talking about Kerbal.
We thought we were recording our Angry at Pop Music podcast.
yeah.
We're gonna get back to Kerbalcast.
That was a different podcast.
We record that on Wednesdays.
That's right. That's right.
Sorry.
And I record it from my bunker where I hide from truly horrible songs from She Who Must Not Be Named.
Yeah.
Okay, last week I did my progress report first. So this week you do your progress report first.
Okay, so
and I will say NOS is still working 7-day weeks right now.
yeah, it's almost over.
I know.
Actually, I have nothing to really prove that it'll be over because I have no idea myself.
Yeah.
Anyway,
So your progress this week is probably 5 minutes.
when we last left Nostromo's progress, I was at I've been trying to get a lander that will something that'll land on the moon,
Right.
and come back.
The mun.
Land on the mun. That's how little I've been playing it. I'm saying things as they are. Landing on
He's
the
a
mun.
truth teller.
And coming back.
Right.
And that's the thing I've been working on. That and restarting 0.25.
It'd be so much easier if you didn't have to worry about the coming back part, huh?
Yeah, I know. Well, just live there. One way
Just
ticket.
land it and then blow them up.
So I last left and I was on an approach to it,
Mm-hmm.
which is funny because I'll have these long streaks where I just can't play or I don't have the time to or, I get wrapped up in other stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So I'll come back to it and I'm like, first thing I do now is I always check the Space Center to see if I have anything flying around because I have made a ship and I've launched it and I've time warped and then like
Oh, that's bad.
I would go to the Space Center later to look at
Yeah.
it, and I would see all this debris on the mun, and I'm like, how did that get there? Oh, I had a ship on its way there.
Yeah.
I forgot about
And
that.
I totally forgot. And the way you do your orbital maneuvers, your maneuver nodes,
Yeah.
it's like you always go straight into the mun.
That's what was happening on this one. It was going straight into it. And
Well, I told you I've done. I actually had an instance where I was doing something and my I think my phone. I think it was like I got a text message and it was like hey come outside for a minute. I need you to help me carry something or something like that. And it was like the ship was in was what I thought was okay in good shape. And I thought, well, I'll just leave the game running. I can step away for a minute. And I come back, and what's on the screen is just a floating piece of debris. I have no idea what happened.
I treat that game like I treat my oven. I do not trust it when it is on. Like, if it is on, I am watching it because it will burn my house down.
What I think is funny is the priorities, because you said that that you get wrapped up in like your daily life away from Kerbal. It's like I'm exactly the opposite. It's like daily life is a distraction from Kerbal for me. It's like I'll spend like all day Saturday,
Yeah.
right? Playing, and then after about 5 o'clock, it's like, hey, anybody want to go do something?
Yeah. So
I've only been playing this for a little while. 6 hours.
So I had it on a good approach, and I had a few bad landings. One
Define bad landing.
running out of fuel too soon.
Oh, okay.
Another one.
Bad landing as in kaboom.
Yeah,
Okay.
another one. I got there, but I was on the cliff of a crater, so I fell down, and I
Did you make an unintentional rollie?
yeah.
You landed on the cliff,
Well,
on
what's
the
funny
edge of
is
a cliff,
is
and then
one
tumbled down.
one of the legs blew up, and
Uh-huh.
so I still had two because I just had it. It was 3 legs.
You had 3 legs.
And so I'm trying to.
Didn't we have a conversation about how unstable 3 legs are?
Yeah.
Remember we had the War of the Worlds conversation, and you still did a lander with 3
Well,
legs.
hey, they almost got the world. There's no germs on the moon. No.
That you know of.
Yeah. Moon, get the mun flu. So I was like,
The green flu.
so it was like this stupid fuel tile like chance to roll the thing to where it would try to walk on its 2 legs and try to stand up.
Okay.
Yeah, and it's like it's not going to work.
Yeah.
But you're just like, oh, maybe, because you don't want to have to F9 and go back and try it again.
Yeah.
You're like, maybe it'll work this time. Well, so I eventually got the thing landed.
Can I do the music that's going through my head right now? Because I have this image of your lander walking on 2 legs.
No, actually, because you told me what music's going through your head, and I don't want to hear it.
Well, this is different music.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
No, it was about like that.
That's the image I have in my head is a lander walking.
So, I have the thing land, and I get my old Kerbal out, and
Your old Kerbal?
yeah, as long as I've been waiting on that mission, yeah, he's probably old.
So does he have like a long gray beard?
That'd be pretty cool to have like if a mission goes like
Hey, Biff, shut up and let him talk. Oh, I'm sorry.
if it goes long enough to get a huge beard. So I land the thing, he hops out, and I plant my flag, and get some dirt, and then I go back up the thing.
Otherwise known as a soil sample.
Yeah. I
got some
I had
dirt.
my lander, instead of doing like the engines on the side, I did the highest ISP I could get.
Right.
I'm learning sort of. And I attached it so it's like lander, decoupler, fuel, the booster or the thruster for that.
Yeah.
And then
The
another
RCS, okay.
Yeah, another decoupler, and then all the descent stage.
Okay.
Yeah. Well, ladders don't go there. So I had this gap of no ladders, and I was like, oh. And so after
on the Mun, you can just jump down and jump back.
Yeah.
Jump back.
Yeah, I had to
reference.
I had to look up how to get my jetpack on. But once I got that, it was fine.
Number pad 5.
Yeah. Oh, it's not number pad 5 for me. It was like R or something.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Did you have yours assigned?
I don't. I thought I didn't.
Yeah. See, mine was a letter. I don't remember which letter right now, but I think it was R.
Okay, it's number pad 5 for me.
Or is it RCS R?
Well, RCS is R.
RCS is R. It was another letter.
Yeah,
I don't remember.
Jetpack is
L is lights, and
L is lights. Number pad 5 is jetpack for me.
We're getting letters. We're getting a lot of letters.
Yeah.
But anyway, I looked it up.
Letter number 1. Talk about Kerbal.
Yeah,
Don't talk about she who must not be named.
Yeah, so I got that working. Yeah, you got the jetpack on. Got in there. I remember people saying that you could transfer your science into the command pod.
You can.
I couldn't figure out how.
Right click. But you have to be close to it. Are you talking about like your Science Junior?
Yeah.
Or your
So like
goo?
let's say I got a goo and I want to transfer the science.
You got a goo.
And I want to transfer it to the lander.
Hey, when you
cannon.
got a goo, you got a goo.
Does the Kerbal have to get the science out? Like I have to
yes.
have him
You have
walk...
to be close. You have to be physically close to it. Like for example,
Oh, man.
I have like for example my lander.
Yeah.
The capsule is on top of the Science Junior.
Uh-huh.
If I EVA and my Kerbal is standing on the ladder on the capsule, I'm not close enough to Science Junior to collect the science. I have to go down the ladder to where I'm at,
Oh, are you serious?
right next to it. Then you right-click and collect data.
I didn't know that's okay, because I thought it was like a fuel transfer or something. Like you'd right-click a thing and then right-click the...
No, you
Okay.
have to actually get
So
out.
I have to do it one more time.
Okay.
So I have to do it one more time because I don't want to mess again. And I was like, how do I transfer this?
And tell me, I'm curious what your jetpack key is. Because, I mean, like I said, mine's number pad 5.
I don't know.
So let me know if
it
that's
was whatever
yours.
the default was.
Okay.
Because I looked it up and on a forum somebody's like, yeah, hit this key. Because like
Okay.
everyone was like, well, it depends on what you mapped it to. And some guy's like, hit this key, and it's like, oh, that worked. So I guess it was the default key.
Okay.
So yeah,
I thought that was default, but I mean, I may have mapped that, last year and have forgotten.
So okay, that's how you transfer the science.
Yeah.
Because I didn't get how to transfer it because everyone's like, oh yeah, just transfer your science, transfer. So you have to get them close to it and then right click.
Yeah.
It's that right click thing we're talking about, like a new person. And if they were playing the game in a vacuum, there's so much stuff they wouldn't know about because every time something is slightly different, the right click could change.
Yeah.
So it's like,
well, I stumbled across
man,
do you know that if you put your mouse pointer when you're in the KS, when you're in the center, view, like when you're in the view where you're looking at the Kerbal Space Center.
Yeah.
Okay, before you've selected a building like the VAB or the launch pad or whatever. Actually, that doesn't matter. I don't know why I went off on that digression. You know, at the top of the screen, you know, you've got that indicator that shows if you're ascending or descending, and it gives you your altitude and the whole bit. Yeah. If you move your cursor over that now drops down.
Yeah, for like how it normally drops down for Recover Vessel, but it also does it for Space Center.
And it says, Recover Vessel and Space Center.
Yeah, they added Space Center in 0.25.
I never knew that. Yesterday, I mean, literally yesterday, I was doing something and my mouse cursor just happened to breeze past it and it dropped down and I went,
wait, did you never do that for recovering vessels? Oh, you did it through the Space Center.
I've always gone to the Space Center.
You would have saved so much time.
I know.
Because it's like, as soon as my dude lands, I just click that thing. Yeah. And I don't know how I found it. I guess I was just moving.
Your old dude?
Yeah. I was moving,
he abides.
I was moving the mouse around on stuff just whenever I first started, just to see what everything was, to see if there was anything clickable up there.
All the dude ever wanted was his rug back.
Hey, the brakes button, is that for whenever you have gear wheels?
Yes.
Okay. I wondered that because I was like, whenever you guys were first starting talking about air braking, I was like, oh yeah, click that button to air brake.
Let me rephrase. I think so. Okay, because
you haven't done much space planes.
Exactly.
Speaking of,
I said that I said that, and then I realized you're not certain.
Yeah.
So hey, there could be another letter.
Yeah. So so I made that successful run, and then I was like, okay, if I really, because
I'm still waiting for the letter that begins "Dear Idiots."
Yeah. I had before I knew you could transfer science like that, I was like, well, how am I supposed to bring any science back if I have like mystery goo, unless I put it all in the capsules, and that's more weight and all that. So now that I know that, I could just do it with my basic lander. But before I knew that, I was like, well, I'm going to start working on Rendezvous. So I've just put something up, and I was going to attach something else to it.
Do you know what has nailed me so many times?
What's that?
I will forget to collect data. And the way my lander is built, because I've learned that whenever you splash down, or even when you land, your Science Junior and your goo canisters may or may not survive. Yeah, it depends on where they are.
Yeah, it drives me nuts.
So I've designed the lander to where it jettisons everything but the capsule. But there have been, and I've done this. I've gone to I've gone all the way to Duna and collected Science Junior science, and then come all the way back and forgot to collect the data before I splashed down. Yeah. And then I go to collect my science, and it's like, hey, and that's when yeah, goofball.
Yeah, but my lander made it back, so I was able to make it back and land. And
was this the two-legged lander?
No. This was
different
just
lander.
Different lander.
Gotcha.
The one where I didn't know how to transfer the science on it. So that
you know what? I'm interrupting you so much. I'm getting confused, and that's your fault.
Yeah. So and then I started to start working on Rendezvous a little bit, and then right before I came here, I was like, you know what? I'm going to give it another try, and I built another space plane. And I knew I had looked at a couple other people's space planes, and so I had a rough idea of how they construct theirs. And it's weird. It's real weird. So I started flying the thing, and I got past, you look at your atmosphere, and it shows the 4 different tones, color tones.
The density.
Yeah. Whenever I started getting to the you start off in the first one, the thickest. Whenever I started getting in the second and third one, it started acting on its own. Oh yeah. And twisting and moving around, and I couldn't control it. And my air intakes weren't taking in as much and stuff. So, and then I noticed one of my thrusters was going, but the other ones weren't. But here's the thing: there were 2 of them right next to each other. Right. And it was the right one was going, but the left one wasn't.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
So you had a good spin going.
Yeah, and the 2 on the wings weren't doing anything. So I don't know why it shut off. Only it was getting air or something, or maybe it consolidated to one. It was so weird.
The stock space plane in the game. Yeah. When you actually get up into the into the thin atmosphere where you don't have any air intake, you hit the space key, and it's like a good chunk of the back half of that thing just flies off, and all of a sudden there's rocket engines.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah. Well, it's cool, but the thing is, you can't. But then you have to, like the shuttle, you have to glide in.
Yeah.
You don't come in for a powered landing.
Yeah.
So I mean, I was trying when I messed around with space planes when 2.5 first came out. I tried to design a craft that could leave the atmosphere and re-enter the atmosphere, and different sets of engines, so that obviously one set would work in space and one set would work in the atmosphere. But yeah, I was having the same problem you were having, which was the minute I would get up into the thin part of the atmosphere, the thing would just start tumbling.
Yeah.
It would just go bonkers.
Yeah.
So
some of part of my wings just flew off at one point. It was like, and took the engines that were on the wings with it.
You know what? I just thought of something. Here would be a good letter, and I'll throw this out to listenership. Tips on building space planes, because that's something you and I don't have a lot of experience with. We occasionally get that question.
Yeah, someone's like, "What do you guys know about space planes?" We're like, not much.
Yeah, it's like, if you want it to roll, Nos is your man.
Yeah.
If you want some giant, complicated Rube Goldberg thing to get off the ground, hey, I'm your man.
Yeah, so I flew that thing around, and I tried to land it. That didn't work out.
Right.
So, because I'm nowhere near having landing down, like like runway landing or whatever.
Right.
So, and I didn't put any parachutes on it. I should have done that just to like max out the drag. But yeah, so that was a fun little adventure. But yeah, the Mun, after not enough hours in the game and a lot of listener assistance, I managed to get there and back again without spending an insane amount of resources building something massive.
I have to give you a lot of credit. The way your schedule is, the fact that you're able to get that much time in is really amazing to me.
Thanks.
Well, I mean, because seriously, it's like, I mean, I know that this is going to sound absolutely pathetic, but I mean, I spent a good chunk of my weekend messing around in the game. Mm-hmm. I spent a good chunk of Saturday morning, and I spent a good chunk of Sunday afternoon.
Yeah.
But I have the time to do that.
No,
I mean, when I go, I did 20 hours in the game. It's like, well, yeah, that's because that's the only time you have when you're not sleeping, you're not working.
No, we'll say Steam recently did a free weekend or whatever on a whole bunch of games. Yeah. And I played XCOM. And so I have a couple hours in XCOM. I probably should have been Kerbling because I was like, I got to try this out. It's pretty cool.
You know what? My thing, I will. It's what I was talking about with Minecraft and PS Vita. Is it's nice to go off to other games because it keeps Kerbal fresh.
Yeah.
If all you do is Kerbal, which is kind of like all I did.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I mean, you really do get to a point where, I mean, some of the time that I spend in the game is like, I'll put a ship up and then it's like, I'll spend 10 minutes rotating and looking at it and, ooh, look at that. And ooh, look at that. And it's like, okay, I'm technically playing the game, but I mean, all I'm really doing is looking at the stupid thing.
Yeah, yeah.
So, whereas I think if I kind of go off and do something else and come back to it fresh, I think I'm less inclined to, to do that. So anyway, I don't know.
Okay, so yeah, that's my progress. Okay. Mun and back again, and a little bit of space planes, and sort of starting on Rendezvous. Okay. Yeah. Okay. So because I know I'll need it for Minimus.
I still want to work with you on Rendezvous. When you get some free time, I would like probably the funniest thing I've said tonight. Right? Yeah. When you get some free time, I would love to sit down and just kind of go through the basics of Rendezvous. Yeah. Okay.
So your progress.
Okay, you said your progress was to the Mun and back.
Yeah.
My progress was to Ike and back.
One upper. So. No, I was seeing some of the pictures that you're putting on the Twitter and stuff.
Yeah, wasn't that neat? I was actually tweeting out pictures. One of them, when I sat down on Ike and Jeb got out and did his EVA. I didn't. You know how you get those accidental pictures, those accidental just perfect pictures. Jeb comes down the ladder and he's standing, on the surface of Ike. Yeah. And I think, okay, I want to take a screenshot so I can tweet it out. And the way Jeb was standing, I rotated the camera around to where he would be facing out. And I took the screenshot. Well, when I rotated it around, there was Duna right over his shoulder. So what I had in one picture, I had the surface of Ike. I had Jeb standing on it. I had the lander next to him, and in between Jeb and the lander was perfectly framed Duna.
So,
and I was like,
so it's like almost like the picture was supposed to be of Duna. You know, like it almost looks like he was taking, hey, look, a picture of Duna while I'm on Ike, while I'm,
it was honestly, it was completely unplanned.
Yeah.
It was one of those pictures that I didn't, until I swung my viewpoint around, I didn't even realize Duna was visible.
Yeah.
And for it to be in that location, to be just perfectly centered between, Jeb was, if you're looking at the picture, Jeb is to the left of the picture, and the lander is to the right, and Duna is like center top or high center, I guess. But it was one of those just, wow, I didn't realize that I had that picture. So I took it, and when I tweeted it out, I wrote, what a picture, because I was surprised.
Yeah.
But yeah, I had the week before I had gone to Duna and back. And this time I thought, okay, I'm gonna go and do a round trip to Ike. I've gotten really good at interplanetary transfer. Sometimes I can get it.
Thanks, Dark Mushroom.
Sometimes I can set up a maneuver node in Kerbin orbit that will put me exactly where I want to be. And then sometimes I can set up a maneuver node that basically gets me to the system that I'm trying to get to. And then once I get into solar orbit, then I will make an adjustment, and that'll bring me right where I need to be. But usually it's a minimal adjustment.
Yeah.
Usually I've gotten to where I do my initial burn, and then I do a very small correction burn, or just a small residual. But I've gotten to where I can pretty much come right in where I want to be. And for this mission, I literally came in right over Ike's equator. I was a decent distance above the surface, not too far away and not too close, obviously. And this was another trick that I've been working on. I came in with the direction of Ike's rotation, because I have, in the past, I've come in and I'll be going counter to the planet's rotation. But this time I actually came in and I was going in the same direction that Ike was rotating. And Ike is really cool. It looks a lot like the Mun, not as cratered. And what's interesting is on one side there is this, it's almost like a skunk stripe. There is this white stripe. You've got like dark soil, and then this really white stripe of light colored soil, and then dark soil again. And so what I did was I said, okay, I'm going to try and land right on the line between the light and the dark soil. And I did. I sat down right on it. And so
you could see the transition.
You can you can't really see it in the picture I took, because once you're actually on the ground from an altitude, the line between light and dark is very stark.
Yeah.
But when you're actually on the ground, it starts to get patchy. There's like little patches of dark soil and little patches of light soil, cool. And it kind of makes a slow transition from one gradient to another. But yeah, I managed to land just boom right there. And I got out and I did my soil sample, and then I did my return too. Initially, I had been having trouble. I was doing real good. Doing an interplanetary transfer from a lower body to a higher body was easy. I had gotten to where I was very efficient at it. But then trying to make a transfer between a higher body and a lower body was more difficult for me. But I've gotten to where I can do that now very easily. Because, when you're trying to go from a lower body to a higher body, obviously, your departure point is traveling faster than your arrival point. Okay. And so to me, it was easier to judge where I needed to be when I actually made my departure. It took me a couple of tries to where I finally got to where I could gauge, because with a higher one, the body that you're on is moving slower relative. If you're going to a lower planet, if you're going from Duna to Kerbin, well, Kerbin obviously is moving faster than Duna. So when you make your transfer, you have to figure out, okay, Duna's back there, but by the time I get Here,
Because most of the time you're used to moving outward.
Yeah.
Now you have to move back in.
right.
Oh.
But I've gotten to where I'm actually pretty good at making that transfer too.
Nice.
But yeah, I did a complete round trip to Ike and back, and I think if I remember correctly, my science was 729. I want to say something like that.
Yeah, my science just from was that in career mode?
No, science.
Science mode. Okay. I was in career mode, which actually that kind of shows you how if you do a science build, like a science strategy.
Right.
I came in with like 300 to 400 from like my full MUN journey.
Oh wow.
So because I had all the things to give me extra science for all the funds and reputation I gained.
Right.
On doing a mission that gave me science and then collecting science, like I gained that much science, and it was like about half of what you ended up getting from going to another planet. So
One thing that I did find interesting about Ike, like I said, it's very similar to the MUN, but when I land on the MUN, I need to be going about 5 meters per second or less to have a soft touchdown.
yeah,
Anything above that, sometimes I land in one piece and then sometimes I just, scatter.
yeah,
On Ike, on the other hand, once I got to around 13 meters per second, if I couldn't go under that. If I tried to slow myself below 13 meters per second,
started going up.
I'd start going up.
yeah,
And so it's the gravity. Obviously, there's a difference in gravity because 5 meters per second on the MUN is roughly equivalent to 13 meters per second on Ike.
So you can land it above 10 meters a second on Ike.
Yeah, on Ike, and the thing is, it's an extremely soft landing.
Really?
But 13, for some reason, I could not go below 13. The minute I got to 13, if I was doing any kind of if I was doing any kind of thrust whatsoever,
Yeah.
it would immediately start me back up.
Huh.
So anyway, it's interesting that
The
13
last-
meters per second on Ike is different than.
That's the last thing I need, are more variable.
Yeah, there you go.
I'm like, oh boy.
Oh boy.
I just want something I can depend on.
Yeah, ironically,
Explosions. You can depend on explosions.
Ike is easier to land on than the MUN
Yeah.
once you're there. I mean, it's like, you remember I told you that Minmus is easier to land on than the MUN,
Yeah.
but because Minmus is in a slanted orbit relative to Kerbin, it's a harder target for the novice to hit. So the MUN is a good first place to practice your landing and returns. Minmus would be the easier target if it was in the same, if its plane was level with Kerbin's plane.
Yeah.
But it's not. And Ike would be easy as well, except that to get there, you have to do an interplanetary transfer and then do another one just to get back. So, so there you've not only doubled, but basically tripled.
Yeah, so like one
complications.
thing gets easier, but
Yeah.
like something else will get hard.
So for the novice, the MUN is still the best place to try and land and
I love
return. So another thing I did, I put a space station up in orbit for the first time ever, and this was because of a listener. I can't remember if it was a picture or something they had written about. For the first time ever, I have a space station with escape pods.
Oh yeah.
Because do you remember
the Shea Challenge had that?
Is that what it was?
Yeah, but one of our listeners put it, like, built one and he put the escape pods on there and stuff, and it tweeted it to us. So you probably saw that and reminded you of it.
Yeah, because I had built this thing, and my idea was it's the science processing station that requires 2 Kerbals to be functional. And so I built a space station, but it's got the automated controller on it, the remote automated controller on it, and then it's got that for kind of a habitat. And the idea is that it's a refueling station, but it's also, for example, when I come back from somewhere, before I land, I can dock with that thing, process the science for the extra percentage, and then land. Okay. Well, when I sent the thing up, I thought, well, I'm going to send up 2 Kerbals, but there's really no way to get them back short of sending up another ship to get them.
Yeah.
And it has to be a ship that has enough room for them to get into and then come back. Right. And that's when I went, escape pods. I had totally forgotten about that. But yeah, the thing it's this space station, and it's got 2 little escape pods. And what it is it's the one-man capsules.
Yeah.
And there's the RCS only tanks, and it's got the little RCS only engines, and it's got just enough to deorbit and come in. And it's got its own parachute. And, once you expend your RCS tank, there's a decoupler there so you can jettison it and just come in with the capsule. But for the first time ever, I have escape pods. I'm running like the most rinky-dink space program here. It's like I've been doing this for a year.
What do you mean you want to get back?
Yeah. For the first time ever, it's like I put like an emergency contingent in there.
Yeah.
And then just to really further it, what I did was when I was doing the launch, initially my first thought was put them in the science processing station. And then I thought, no, if this was the real thing, they would be in the escape pods, because those were the things that could jettison and get away and parachute up. So actually when I went up, I put one Kerbal in each pod, thinking, okay, in a real life scenario, that's where they would have to be, because that's where they would be able to escape. And then once I got into orbit, thank you very much, squad, now that it's so easy to transfer crewmen.
True, yeah.
Yeah. I just clicked on the little hatch, transferred them to the science thing, and now they're sitting there waiting for something to do. But they're in orbit.
That's
and
cool.
The last thing is I made kind of an accidental rolling. When I put this thing up in orbit, the space station, I told you it kind of doubles as a space station and a refueling station. Well, by the time I got it up there, a couple of the tanks were dry. Most of them were full, but a couple were dry, and I needed to refuel them. So I built basically a long tanker, and I sent it up. Well, the thing was so long that trying to get it to maneuver was very difficult, because trying to get it to, move left or right or change inclination or whatever. I mean, everything that I did, it was this very slow.
Yeah, it was ponderous.
Yeah, it was just it was trying to dock like that was just impossible.
Mm-hmm.
The other thing I kept doing too was, it's like I'd be trying to swing it around so I could retro burn. And it would be so slow swinging around that I'd smash into the station. So it'd be like, okay, F9.
Yeah.
And congratulations to Squad on your explosion effects. They're very nice.
Yeah, you've had to see them a lot.
I've gotten to see them quite a bit. Have you noticed now that when you put stuff on the launch pad, that if it explodes, if you don't put, like, for example, the launch stabilizers, when you go to launch, because you used to not have to do the launch stabilizers. You could actually just launch something just sitting there.
Uh-huh.
Well, now, I don't know if it's a weight thing or what, but now if you put a craft on there without launch stabilizers, it explodes. And there's like this huge flame, and then like the whole launch pad turns into a pile of rubble. So they've really. Yeah. Oh, you haven't done that?
No.
Yeah, try that. Just build a rocket with no launch stabilizers, or just take one and take the launch stabilizers off and put it on there. It's kind of interesting to watch that huge explosion.
Yeah.
But anyway, so I sent up this really big tanker, and I was having all kinds of difficulty trying to wrestle this thing into a dock.
Mm-hmm.
So what I did was I said, okay, instead of putting X number of tanks single file, what I'm going to do is I'm going to expand them out horizontally instead of vertically. And so what I have is basically everything is one tank high, but there's like 3 or 4 different layers of them going left to right, and they're doing it in a circle. And so when I launched this thing and I started to pitch over to get into my orbital view, or orbital tilt, thank you. Wrestling for the word there. When I started to tilt it over, I went, that looks like a wagon wheel. And I thought, I made an accidental rolling.
Yeah.
So anyway, that, if I ever do a rock band, that's going to be the name of it.
Accidental rolling.
Accidental rolling.
There you go.
And you know what? Someone will think it's a drug reference. The accidental rolling.
Oh, yeah. So that sounds like a Frank Zappa song.
Yeah. Well, this will sound like a Frank Zappa song, too. No Dark Matters this week. So we're just going to go ahead and move right on into mission briefing. Of course, this is where we do Kerbal News and your letters. And Nos has the first letter.
Okay, from FIT Orion regarding Harvester's post about deep space refueling. Refueling is good, but incidental to what I really want to do, build colonies. And there is already a mod for refueling. That isn't to say that I don't want that feature, just that it is a minor bonus as compared to the ability to plop down a vehicle assembly building and launch a launch pad on lathe.
I should remind Squad at this point, that was my $1 million idea, and I'm waiting for that check.
I'll give you about $350.
Uh-huh.
I don't know if I'll ever get
No,
that
it's
ability.
$250.
And I think it would be something rather difficult to mod in, though perhaps not impossible. If it isn't in 1.0, I'll have to finally really seriously look into how to mod things myself. Ooh.
Yeah.
They're only 25% done with the game.
Yeah.
So there's a chance.
Well, no, remember, the next one is going to be 90. So
Yeah.
0.90. Or no, 0.90 is how they put it. You know what, though? If they just totally slack off and more people go, well, I guess I'll just have to learn how to mod.
Yeah, and then like, hey, we'll pay you for that mod.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, it's like somebody at Squad goes, kicker! Okay, next letter. This is from Amy K. Hi, Biff and Nos. Thanks for another great show. But the constant talk about part testing contracts made me want to write in. I'm just like you and hate part testing contracts to the point that I will just not do them. But I do enjoy the space-based realistic contracts. A while back, I found a mod called Fine Print, which I highly suggest you or Nos try if you get sick of part testing. All it does is add contracts, but adds all sorts of interesting contracts, such as placing a satellite in geosynchronous or polar orbit at a certain altitude, ejecting an asteroid out of the solar system, building orbital extraplanetary bases, exploring that is a tough word. Exploring anomalies.
Anomalies?
Anomalies. Thank
Anomalies.
you. Exploring anomalies with rovers. The list goes on. And fortunately, it doesn't say anomaly anymore. The difficulty ramps up as your abilities improve, just like with stock contracts. So you don't start with all these, but it certainly beats meaningless parts testing, and it makes things really interesting. By the way, I have nothing to do with the mod if it sounds like a plug. I just love it. And then there's a little smiley face emoticon. Amy K. Thank you, Amy.
This one comes from Misha. Hey, Biff. First of all, thanks for replying, and by the sound of things, reading through my entire email. Cheers, Misha. No, I'm kidding. I'll read the rest of it. Anyway, just wanted
I didn't expect you to do that.
Anyway, just wanted to send a quick note as I just finished listening to number 22. Specifically, your comments about the Soviet space program and how you hadn't realized how much it had accomplished.
Right.
This makes the BBC episodes that I told you guys about surprisingly topical. I only sent it as just I'd watched the show and I thought it was kind of interesting. Mm-hmm. In fact, the commentator almost matches your words about the Soviet program being far wider, and when they were beaten to the moon, they just went on to other things. Whereas the Americans pretty much went, we're done, mission accomplished.
Right.
So I hope you managed to watch it. I think you'll enjoy it. If you can't find a proxy, I can maybe provide you with one. Cheers, Misha.
I have watched it.
Okay.
I was not what he was talking about with the proxy. I tried to watch it on the because he provided a BBC link.
Yeah.
And when I clicked on it, it went, sorry, you're a horrible, evil Yank, and you can't watch it.
Yeah.
You're not British. Be gone with thee. But I found it on YouTube, and I was able to watch it. It is fascinating. It's called Cosmonauts, and I can't remember the rest of the title, but it's Cosmonauts: How Russia Won the Space Race or something like that.
Yeah.
But it's fascinating. It's a lot of the history I knew, but a lot of it, there was a lot of detail. There was a lot of flavor that I had never known.
Uh-huh.
It's like I knew some of the broad outlines, but there was a lot more there than I was aware of. And it is absolutely fascinating. And I will say I've actually gotten, because I know the American space program in and out.
Yeah.
That's something I've been, studying my whole life. And like I said, I grew up during the space race. The Soviet space program and now the Russian space program, that's something that I don't know as much about. So now that I'm learning this other stuff, it's really fascinating to me, because the Cold War American version or a view of the Soviet space program is, well, they pulled off some, PR stunts, but that was kind of it. We're the ones that really won the race. We're the ones that really did it. What they did wasn't that important. Well, no, they did a lot. And when we stopped, they kept going. The one thing that I would like to see more of, and obviously in a program called Cosmonauts, they're not going to talk about this other side of it. They have done a lot of remote missions, around the moon, around Venus, around Mars. I mean, they've done landers. They've done all kinds of remote missions that I was never aware of. And in many cases, first. So this is really, right now, this is a subject that I'm just really eating up with right now. So I want to thank Misha or Micah or, is it Micah? Or whatever.
I'm never telling.
Yeah, you don't even tell.
Because I forget it as soon as I say it.
But I appreciate him mentioning that, because that was, it's about an hour and a half long. Very good. Yeah. Very well done. If you can find a copy of it, either on YouTube or you can get it off the BBC website or whatever, strongly recommended. Very, very good. So, and after all that yakking, I have the next letter.
Yeah.
It's the Biff Show. Okay, this comes from North Star. Greetings, Kerbalcast team. A great program as always. I just wanted to write in to answer the question raised during the last episode about asteroid science. Remember the question I had, because I said that the science I got on the asteroid wasn't any different than science I got elsewhere.
Yeah.
And I was curious if, because I was not attached to the asteroid with a grabber, if that made a difference. I've gotten some responses, and this is one of them. Asteroids have no sphere of influence and cannot be landed on, as you are already aware, because when I touch down, I immediately float off. They also yield no additional science simply by latching onto them with a launch clamp. Rather, the main way to obtain large science yields from them is to move them between different spheres of influence. It's like the most basic motorhome you've ever come up with. You drag this thing around. As you've probably noted, he didn't write that, by the way, although he probably wishes he did. North Star saying, why didn't I think about the trailer analogy? As you probably noticed with your sample from the asteroid on EVA, the sample is listed in a particular environment, i.e. asteroid sample from high above the sun or asteroid sample from high above Kerbin. Now, if you move an asteroid between different situations, you can gain multiple such different samples from an asteroid, each worth a certain amount of science. For instance, if you redirect an asteroid in solar orbit to pass through Kerbin's atmosphere by grappling onto it with the claw, then thrusting it in the necessary directions for orbital maneuvers, you can capture the asteroid in orbit around Kerbin and gain science from near and high above Kerbin from the initial elliptical orbit. If you leave the asteroid in its unstable orbit, it can eventually be slowed down enough to land it on Kerbin with enough passes through the atmosphere. Yeah, it turns out that when you bring the asteroid down, it doesn't create like this huge crater and wipe out all life on the planet.
Oh, okay. Does it bounce?
I don't know. The rubber ones do.
Oh.
The rubberoids. Rubberoids. That's a mod I want. I want the certain death mod. Death from above.
They
mod.
have the soccer balls.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, but see, the soccer balls wouldn't wipe out all life on the planet. It would just, what it would do, it would make all life on the planet play.
Yeah.
No, I want like something where you can bring an asteroid in, and an Aerosmith song plays, and Bruce Willis dies.
Do you really want that?
No.
Okay.
Because I like Bruce Willis.
Okay, so
I really like Bruce Willis.
Also,
there's more to this letter.
Oh, there's more?
Yes.
Okay, sorry. Keep going.
I just keep going off on my digressions. Although I never personally have tried bringing an asteroid to Kerbin's surface, I have seen many stories and screenshots of people who have succeeded in doing so. Landing an asteroid works like landing any other craft. And if you bring it down too hard, it can explode in a massive fireball. Sorry, no craters yet. However, With enough upwards thrust and parachutes, you can land any asteroid on Kerbin and gain a lot of extra science that way. Readings from upper and lower atmosphere as well as landed on the surface. That would be the ultimate rollie, by the way.
Yeah.
Which North Star also didn't say. I hope this explanation was helpful to you and the other listeners. And here's the sign-off. May kind and honest words always be a guiding light to bring you home. P.S. If you were ever wondering, that idea is the symbolism and explanation behind my chosen username, North Star. I wish always to be a guiding light unto others, akin to a northern star in the night sky. And you have whatever's next.
Okay, so it was responses to your asteroid
query.
thing. So I think these were through Twitter.
Yeah, these are Twitters.
Yeah. From Alex B.
Or tweets.
As far as I know, the claw doesn't make a difference to asteroid science, but you can get different samples from the same asteroid in different situations, like around Kerbin or inside the sun.
Yeah, inside the sun.
Oh, instead of the sun.
Instead.
Yeah, that one would be a little tough.
You know, although technically that would be a different biome.
Yeah, we figured out it's
science from inside the sun. Apparently, if you latch onto an asteroid and just drag it around to different places, you can keep getting science over and over from the same asteroid because you just keep changing its location.
Yeah.
So we got one other. You want to read that one?
Yeah, from JL Martin 621. EVA near the asteroid to get science. Do this for each biome situation that you move the asteroid to. High over the moon, etc.
And also, this has nothing to do with the asteroid, but this is another tweet, and this comes from Mittenpo, and he did a mission to Ike and Duna, and I wanted to kind of publicly pat him on the back. Quote: 1,300 science transmitted. Need gravity assist for way home ASAP. Well, guess what?
Yeah.
Dark mushroom, dark matters.
Delivered.
They have delivered even before you asked.
Yeah.
Because we did another one of those where we answered before we asked.
Yeah.
Okay, moving on. What do we have next?
Outside of Kerbal, the new game Civ Beyond Earth released last week. A few of our listeners told us what they thought of it. Zaktar says, played a little last night. A giant worm ate all my military units just as a competing Civ attacked. It did not end well.
I love that.
What? Said it's Civ in space with news units textures.
Yeah, new unit textures. Yeah. You know, he's on second base.
What?
Yeah, he's on second.
Oh, who?
No, he's on first.
What? Barbarian. God, that is awful.
He's on third. No, I don't know who's on third.
Barbarians are replaced with worms and gold with energy. Missions are a cool new feature. And Ascalon says, after watching gameplays and reading reviews, I decided to stick with Civ 5 and Alpha Centauri. We'll try Beyond Earth when the price drops.
You know, honestly, that last sentence is me too.
When the price drops?
Yeah, it's. I love Civ 5. I love the Civilization games.
Nothing will spoil you like Steam sales. You're like, it'll be cheaper eventually.
You know, and I have discovered, you know how people say that they can make it rain by washing their car?
Yeah.
I can make Steam sales happen by buying a game.
Yeah.
It's that easy. The minute I buy a game, it goes on sale.
I don't know. It's taught me to just like have this, lingering apathy on whether or not, on whether I want to play a game. Like, no, I'm fine. Then it's on sale. Hey, I'll fall for that.
Yeah.
And then I'll buy it. And I'm like, okay, that's cool. And then I'll just wait.
Have you seen that stat? There's some percentage of all the games purchased on Steam have never been played.
Yeah, it's insane.
Yeah, and I was looking at, because, with Steam, you can have it where it displays all games, installed games, whatever.
Recent.
Yeah, and I have it set to where it only shows installed games, which for me is like, 8. Okay.
Yeah.
But when I go to all games, there's over 100. Mm-hmm. And I'm sitting there going through the list going, never played it. It's like I've got, honestly, I would say probably 50 to 60% of the games I have either never been played or played briefly.
See, what I wish I could do, I wish I could permanently delete games from my Steam profile. Because there's some that, I only bought them because it was cheaper to buy it with a 5-pack of, 4 other games I don't want. And what I started doing is you can put your favorites. I started favoriting all the ones I've beaten. And so if I've beaten it, or if I consider myself like I've played it enough that I consider it beaten, like a multiplayer game, and I'm like, okay, that was fun. I don't think I'm ever going to play it again. I'll move it to favorites. So then I see all the games I haven't touched yet, and I start going through those. But
you know what I wish I could do under Steam is consolidate profiles, because I had an older profile.
You can.
You can? You can't transfer
well,
games.
You do the family thing.
Oh, okay.
Have you seen that?
No.
Yeah, you can get people added to like it's kind of like a family plan for a cell phone or something. You can add people to that, and you can access all of their games.
Really?
Now, you can't do it the same time they would, but if you had a second profile, you could add them to that family thing, and you could have all the games that one had, and you could access those. So,
interesting.
Like, I'm able to, my friends, we all did it, and so I'm able to play their games whenever they're at work or they're doing whatever. I can play their games and try them out, and if I wanted to buy them, I can, but I could play the entire thing. Like, I have a couple of their games downloaded on my hard drive.
You know what, though? It's what's funny is it's a moot point, because the one game I had on the old profile was Half-Life 2.
Oh.
And the orange box went on sale.
Oh, yeah.
And so I bought it on my other profile.
You could honestly, like, throw out your email address and say, like, hey, I need orange box. And you have so many people with extra copies that will just shower you with them.
There you
like,
go.
Oh, how many Portal 2s you want? I got, like, 8.
Well, let's move on. It is time now for DK. And this week's Modder's Minute.
This week we're covering a mod that's like no other. Raster Prop Monitor is a fascinating mod which makes all of those buttons and screens in IVA live. In the stock game, IVA isn't much more than just an interesting cosmetic view. Raster Prop Monitor makes all of those blank screens in IVA view have information that you can toggle through, and now suddenly you have a much more immersive feel to the gameplay. There's enough telemetry in this mod that you can perform missions completely in IVA without even going to the orbital view screen. The mod comes with cameras, so in addition to all your telemetry, you can also keep an eye on how your ship is looking from the outside. There are also a number of other mods that are made with this mod in mind. My favorite is the Alcor mod, which gives you a 3-man capsule with more screens and buttons than you'll know what to do with. It's really fascinating to try to do a mission in this. Raster Prop Monitor is the perfect mod for anyone looking for a truly immersive simulator experience. I wouldn't recommend it for anyone new to the game, but for those of us who are looking for the next challenge, this is one to pick up.
All right, thank you, DK, talking about Raster Prop Monitor in this week's Modder's Minute.
Oh, we talked about it last week, about his video that he put up, getting to the month. Yeah. I watched it. First of all, it's another great video.
Isn't it great?
It actually, like, I found out a few things I didn't know, like being able to click the maneuver node while you're making it and drag it along
I
the
never
orbit.
knew that either.
Yeah.
I never knew that either.
That one is cool. And him doing the burn, and then, F9ing back and doing the burn again more efficiently. I've never... See, I only go back. It's like,
stuff I never knew.
I screwed up. I'll go back. Instead of I did that, I want to do it more efficiently, and so he does it again. And I was like, oh, yeah, I never thought, to use F5, F9.
Did you remember I said there was at least 2 good laugh out loud moments?
Yeah.
The bit where he talks about, make sure that you're not flying too low over the mun, and then he cuts to video of the things plowing right into the side of a mountain.
Yeah.
I mean, I just howled when I saw that. There's just, there's a couple of, I mean, he always has these moments in there where you just bust out laughing.
Yeah.
So anyway, he does an excellent job.
Watching, that was the second video that he did.
Yeah.
Watching it, I was like, I hope he really does the F5 for safety.
And he did.
And he did. I was like, oh yeah, he did it.
You'd be amazed how much work. I mean, it's a 4-minute video.
Oh yeah, there's had to be a lot of work in that.
About 30 plus hours just to make that thing.
Oh, I bet.
So
yeah.
He deserves much credit.
I remember whenever I made commercials,
Yeah.
like you had to do like a 15-second commercial, and you'd work on it for like 5 hours. Cutting it down.
Look for it on YouTube. On YouTube, he's Declarations, DK, and then Lorations. Also, he every Thursday, 8 p.m. Eastern, he's on KSP TV. And also, you can go to Twitch TV, and Declarations he does a streaming video feed on that as well.
Yeah, there's also like a Kerbal kill meter on there too.
Yeah. And you'll hear good music.
Yeah,
so,
like every time I click on there, he'll be doing a stream and I'll be busy, so I'll just go and check on it every now and then. I'm like, did the meter increase?
You know what? I just realized I feel like such a slacker.
Why is that?
Okay, DK.
Yeah.
Okay, he does YouTube videos. He does a Twitch TV stream.
He does a lot of YouTube
a
videos.
KSP TV stream.
Yeah.
And he does Modder's Minute for us.
Yeah. He's a busy guy.
Yeah. Do you know what I do? This podcast and the game. That's it. I am such a slacker.
You know why I was quiet there for a second? I wanted to be a nice friend and like encourage you, but I was like, yeah, I don't think he does anything else.
Yeah. Oh no.
You don't, man.
Yeah. I'm serious. I'm waiting for the day when they plug us all into the Matrix, and then I can just play the game and just be a jar, a brain floating in a jar.
They're gonna be hooking everyone up to the machines, and they're like, no, wait, he's been hooked up to a machine for years. We don't need to bother.
He's not producing any energy at all.
No, okay, yeah, just leave him. He's fine.
He's compost.
Yeah.
Well, let's move on. This is not a new Shay challenge. This is a what would you call it?
Redo.
This is a refinement. This is a further exploration into last week's Shay challenge, which he's got you looking for, or he's got us looking for all kinds of hidden little artifacts and goodies in the game.
Okay, Shay. I regret to say my last challenge was lost due to the drafts on my laptop, but I'll do my best to recreate it. Make sure you pass along my hints. The secret orbiting a moon is in a higher orbit than Kerbin and a lower orbit than Jewel. The Lost Temple is in the desert of Kerbin. The other space center, not the one off the coast, is south of the river and north of the temple. The Arctic secret is along the edge of the tundra. The scavenger hunt ends in 2 weeks. And at the end of this week, I'll give some more hints. Also, just to add to the list, I want you to search the almighty deep space kraken. And don't forget to tweet your findings to @Shay_NB1998 or Anonymous Starfish for your credit. All hail the kraken.
You're not going to read the last part?
I read the whole thing.
Oh, okay. See, my copy has more.
Oh.
Mine says,
we found an Easter egg in the Shay challenge itself. This is the most meta thing ever.
And he says, and the kingdom of the crystal skull sucks.
Oh. So. Wait, show me your paper. Is it actually on there?
No.
Oh,
I made that up. I want those 2 hours back.
You know, if you spend more than 2 hours talking about it, then you're the victim.
Yeah.
That you made yourself.
Kind of like She Who Must Not Be Named.
Yeah.
Okay, well, that wraps it up for today's... hey, guess what? I just did a mic hit.
I
did this week's mic hit. That wraps it up for this week's edition of Kerbalcast. This is episode 24, going off crazier than usual. As always, we would like to thank our listeners. Obviously, you make this all possible. And our regular contributors, Shay Byram, DK, and Dark Mushroom.
We would also like to thank the moderators at the Kerbal subreddits, KSB Testing and Kerbal Space Program. And all the music you've heard is by Professor Soap. You can find him at facebook.com/Professor Soap.
And a big thank you to Squad for this game. Don't forget, you can always get in touch with us, and we encourage you to do so. Please write to us, so we'll read your letters. Our email address is kerbalpodcast@gmail.com. On Twitter, we are at Kerbalcast.
You can also download episodes directly from kerbalpodcast.libsyn.com, and you can subscribe to us on iTunes.
Thank you so much for joining us. We will see you again next week. Until next time, I'm your LMP, that's Lunar Module Pilot Biff Aldrin, and our CMP, Command Module Pilot,
Nostromo.
Happy Kerbaling!